They said these were places of healing, peaceful halls for broken minds, but the numbers tell a different story. By 1850, the United States had built just a handful of asylums. 50 years later, there were hundreds. By 1880, more than 90,000 Americans were institutionalized. U.S. Census of Insane and Idiotic Persons, 1880. A newborn nation, still figuring out its own constitution, somehow had time to design an empire of brick, bars, and silence. Dorothea Dix called them temples of mercy. But mercy has a strange way of looking like control, especially when the key only turns one way. They weren't prisons, not officially. But try telling that to the people who never walked out. Maybe these places weren't built to heal madness. Maybe they were built to hide it. When you read the admission books, you realize madness in the 1800s wasn't a diagnosis. It was a mood. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia kept a record. 1,864 to 1,889. Reasons for admission: grief, religious excitement, domestic trouble, masturbation, tobacco use. West Virginia State Archives, Trans-Allegheny Records. That's not science. That's Sunday school with a cell door. Bloomingdale Asylum in New York had its own list. Melancholia after bereavement. Overstudy. Unruly behavior. They weren't curing disease, they were policing emotion. And it makes you wonder, if grief can be called madness, then maybe sanity is just whatever society wants quiet. Every civilization has its own way of erasing women. In 19th century America, they called it treatment. Women were committed for being sad after childbirth, for being jealous, for reading too much, for talking back. Doctors called it hysteria. Husbands called it necessary. Time magazine, The American History of Silencing Women Through Psychiatry, 2021. The Illinois State Archives show forms where a husband could sign his wife into an asylum without a judge or jury. No appeal, no trial, just silence. One doctor wrote, "Her trouble is female disease and stubborn temperament." Another, "She refuses religious instruction." They didn't lose their minds, they lost their rights. Sometimes I think the term moral insanity was never about morals at all, just a way to punish women for having them. By the mid-1800s, asylums spread like churches. Every state wanted one, a monument to compassion and control. Dr. Thomas Story Kirkbride believed in moral treatment, hospitals with light, air, and gardens, a design that looked like hope. On the construction and organization of hospitals for the insane, 1854. But hope cost money, and compassion takes space. By 1900, Danvers State Hospital was built for 600 patients and held more than 2,000. When the funding ran out, the chains came back. Water baths, restraint chairs, isolation cells. The same old tools, now with Latin names. They called it progress. We'd call it warehousing souls. And as the rooms filled up, America stopped asking why so many people didn't fit its definition of normal. They said it was for our own good. The records show cold baths lasting hours, patients spun in chairs until they vomited, shock therapy, insulin comas, and the occasional lobotomy for restlessness. APA Archives, History Channel, asylums in the 1800s, shocking treatments. And then came a woman named Nellie Bly, 1887. She pretended to be insane and entered Blackwell's Island Asylum. 10 days later, she came out and wrote, "What accepted kindness could justify such cruelty?" Her report shook New York to its core. The public called it a scandal. The doctors called it an exception. But we both know When a system runs on silence, there are no exceptions. Only people who get caught. Most patients didn't escape by recovery. They escaped by death. West Virginia Archives, Danvers State Memorial Project. At Trans-Allegheny, a cemetery still sits behind the main building. Over 1,500 graves, no names, just numbers on stones. Danvers State has 771 more. History calls them patients, but the records call them completed cases. No date of release, no cause of death. Just a dash between two numbers. I sometimes wonder if these places were ever about treatment at all, or if they were about making people disappear, quietly, efficiently, forever. If grief was madness, if anger was hysteria, if rebellion was disease, then what was sanity? The American Journal of Psychiatry once wrote, "Insanity is a concept defined by its opposite." That's a polite way of saying, normal is whoever holds the pen. When you look at the photographs of these places now, empty corridors, peeling paint, light through broken windows, you can almost hear the echo of all those people who were told, "This is for your own good." Maybe the greatest madness was never inside those walls. Maybe it was the society that built them. Because history shouldn't fear questions, unless it has something to hide.